Today, I stand before you with a message that is not born out of human opinion, but out of divine timing. This is not a motivational idea, and this is not positive thinking alone. This is a spiritual announcement. It is your season of wealth. God is moving, and heaven is not silent about what is coming next in your life. Many people believe that wealth is random, that blessing is accidental, that favor comes only to a chosen few. But the truth is this: when God declares a season, no force on earth can delay it. Seasons are not controlled by circumstances. Seasons are controlled by God. And when your season changes, your results change, your access changes, and your capacity changes. This is a divinely appointed season, a moment set in motion by God's timing and not by human effort, not by connections, not by background, not by education, and not by struggle. Seasons are spiritual realities before they become physical experiences. When God declares a season, it overrides natural cycles and human limitations. You may feel like nothing around you has changed yet, but seasons do not shift overnight, they shift by authority. God speaks, and the season responds. Wealth is not released because someone worked harder than everyone else, and it is not released because circumstances suddenly improved. Wealth is released when heaven decides the timing is right. That is why some people labor endlessly and see little return, while others step into favor that multiplies their effort. It is not about effort alone. It is about alignment with divine timing. God's timing operates beyond logic. It does not wait for perfect conditions. It creates conditions. When God moves, doors open that no human could unlock. Resources appear where there were none. Systems shift to support what God has ordained. What you could not force through pressure, God releases through favor. That is why this season is not about striving, but about discerning. Those who recognize the season position themselves correctly, while those who doubt remain stuck in old patterns. Heaven does not respond to desperation, it responds to faith and obedience. Many misunderstand wealth because they associate it only with money. But divine wealth begins with authority, wisdom, and access. Before finances change, thinking changes. Before income increases, vision expands. God never releases provision without first releasing perception. When the season changes, you begin to see opportunities you could not see before. Ideas start flowing. Solutions come naturally. Conversations carry weight. Decisions produce results. This is how divine timing manifests quietly before it becomes visible. Human effort is limited by strength, time, and opportunity. Divine timing is unlimited. It bypasses exhaustion and multiplies effectiveness. What once took years can happen suddenly when God accelerates a season. This does not cancel responsibility, but it transforms labor into fruitfulness. You may do the same work as before, but the outcome will be different because the season has shifted. The ground responds differently when the time is right. God does not release seasons randomly. He releases them intentionally. Every season has a purpose. Some seasons break you, some build you, some hide you, and some elevate you. A season of wealth is not about personal comfort alone. It is about assignment. God releases abundance where He can trust stewardship. That is why timing matters more than desire. Wanting wealth does not qualify a person for it. Being prepared for responsibility does. When divine timing arrives, resistance cannot stop it. Delays cannot cancel it. Opinions cannot reverse it. What God has scheduled cannot be postponed by fear or limited by history. Even mistakes from the past cannot disqualify someone when the season is appointed by God. Grace overrides error when timing is fulfilled. This is why people rise unexpectedly, succeed suddenly, and prosper beyond explanation, not because they figured everything out, but because heaven released what was already decided. Delay was not punishment. It was preparation working quietly beneath the surface. What felt like being held back was actually God building strength, depth, and understanding that could not be rushed. Many people assume that if something takes too long, it must not be meant for them, but in divine order, timing reveals value. The greater the assignment, the longer the preparation. God never releases abundance into an unprepared life, because unprepared success destroys more than it blesses. Every waiting season carried a lesson, every closed door carried instruction, and every setback carried refinement. In times of delay, God shapes perspective. He removes the need for quick validation and replaces it with endurance. When nothing seems to move, character is tested more than faith. It is easy to trust God when results are immediate, but it takes maturity to trust Him when progress is invisible. Delay teaches consistency when motivation fades. It teaches discipline when excitement is gone. It teaches obedience without applause. These are the qualities that sustain prosperity when it finally arrives. Many people focus on what they lost during the waiting period, but heaven focuses on what was built. Patience was formed. Pride was dismantled. Dependence shifted from people to God. Delay exposes what cannot survive abundance. If insecurity, greed, or fear remains unchecked, wealth magnifies them. That is why God allows time to reveal what needs healing. The delay was not designed to hurt, it was designed to protect. While it seemed like nothing was happening externally, alignment was happening internally. God was teaching how to manage, how to discern, how to say no, and how to recognize the right opportunities. Every delay trained the heart to value purpose over pressure. Rushed success often leads to rushed decisions, but prepared success moves with wisdom. The ability to wait is proof of readiness, not weakness. Delay also builds spiritual authority. Those who endure without quitting carry credibility in the spirit. When God promotes someone who has been faithful in obscurity, that promotion carries weight. People may only see the sudden breakthrough, but heaven remembers the years of obedience that made it possible. What appears sudden to others is the result of unseen consistency. Preparation often looks like limitation. Resources were restricted so stewardship could be learned. Opportunities were withheld so discernment could grow. Favor was delayed so humility could be secured. These were not signs of rejection, they were signs of investment. God invests deeply in those He plans to trust greatly. Now the season is shifting, not because everything became perfect, but because preparation reached completion. What once overwhelmed you will now be manageable. What once confused you will now be clear. The pressure that once crushed you will now strengthen you. The same situations that once exposed weakness will now reveal growth. When preparation is complete, promotion is inevitable. No delay can outlast divine readiness. God does not forget timing, and He does not miscalculate seasons. What was built in waiting will now support what is released in abundance. The weight of blessing will no longer break you because the foundation has already been laid. God is shifting mindsets because breakthrough never begins in the wallet. It begins in the mind. As long as thinking remains rooted in lack, fear, and survival, abundance feels distant and unsafe. God does not pour wealth into a mindset that expects loss, because expectation shapes outcome. Before financial doors open, mental ceilings must be lifted. This is why the greatest battles before increase are internal, not external. What you believe about provision determines what you allow yourself to receive. Many have been trained by past disappointments to think small, plan cautiously, and expect little. Experiences of shortage teach people to protect instead of expand, to hold instead of release, to fear instead of trust. But faith does not coexist with a poverty mindset. God is calling for a shift from surviving to stewarding, from worrying to expecting, from calculating limits to trusting overflow. This change does not happen automatically. It happens intentionally. You must unlearn what lack taught you and relearn what faith requires. Faith is not denial of reality, it is alignment with divine truth. When God speaks increase, faith agrees even when circumstances argue. A faith-driven mindset speaks possibility where logic sees impossibility. It sees resources hidden in problems and opportunity disguised as pressure. This is the mindset that attracts divine partnership. God moves where belief makes room for Him. He does not force abundance into resistance. He releases it into expectation. Words play a critical role in this shift. What you consistently speak reinforces what you consistently believe. Complaining strengthens lack. Fearful talk feeds limitation. But faith-filled words reshape atmosphere. When you speak abundance with conviction, you align your inner world with heaven's intention. This is not about empty declarations. It is about agreement. Heaven responds to agreement. When your words match God's direction, momentum begins to build. A renewed mindset also changes behavior. You begin to make decisions from vision instead of fear. You invest instead of hoarding. You prepare instead of procrastinating. You take calculated steps instead of remaining stuck. Faith does not remove wisdom, it activates it. When mindset shifts, discipline increases, focus sharpens, and courage replaces hesitation. These changes quietly position you for financial breakthrough before money ever arrives. God is also breaking the belief that wealth is reserved for others. Comparison kills faith. Looking at who succeeded before you can either inspire or intimidate. A faith mindset chooses inspiration. It understands that if God did it for one, He can do it again. Scarcity thinking says there is not enough to go around. Kingdom thinking says supply multiplies when purpose is clear. God's economy is not limited by numbers. It is governed by obedience. This shift requires trust. Trust that God's plan is better than shortcuts. Trust that integrity is more profitable than compromise. Trust that generosity will not lead to lack. These truths contradict natural thinking, but they align with divine principles. When trust grows, fear loses influence. When fear loses influence, faith takes control. As the mindset changes, sensitivity to divine instruction increases. You begin to recognize when to move and when to wait. You sense alignment instead of chasing every opportunity. God leads those who are mentally prepared to hear Him. Financial breakthrough is rarely loud at first. It often begins as a quiet conviction that something must change inside before anything changes outside. Divine opportunities are not hunted down through desperation. They are released through alignment. There is a difference between chasing success and being positioned for it. When God assigns an opportunity, it carries clarity, peace, and purpose. It does not drain you, it directs you. Many people exhaust themselves running after open doors, but the doors that matter are the ones God opens without struggle. In this season, opportunities are not coming because you forced them. They are coming because heaven scheduled them. Assignment means that what is meant for you cannot be taken by another. When God attaches your name to an opportunity, no competition can override it. Others may be more qualified on paper, more connected socially, or more visible publicly. Yet divine favor bypasses logic. God assigns opportunities based on purpose, not popularity. That is why some connections seem sudden and unexpected. They arrive not through strategy alone, but through divine orchestration. God often uses people as pathways. A single conversation can shift direction. A moment of recognition can open years of access. These connections may not look impressive at first, but they carry influence. Assigned relationships carry weight because they are designed to unlock what effort could not. When God connects you to the right people, you do not have to explain yourself repeatedly. There is understanding without persuasion. Honor flows naturally. Trust is established quickly. Divine opportunities also arrive at the right time. They do not come too early to overwhelm you or too late to frustrate you. Timing protects the assignment. What once felt out of reach will suddenly feel manageable. What once intimidated you will now align with your growth. This is how you know an opportunity is assigned. It stretches you but does not break you. It challenges you but does not confuse you. There is also a grace that accompanies assigned opportunities. You find favor where resistance once existed. Systems begin to support you. Information becomes available. Resources align. What previously required effort now flows with ease. This does not mean there is no work involved. It means the work produces results. Divine assignment multiplies effort rather than draining it. Chasing creates anxiety. Assignment creates confidence. When you know God has ordered a step, fear loses its grip. You move with assurance instead of pressure. You do not rush decisions, you discern them. You do not compare paths, you follow direction. This confidence is not arrogance. It is trust in divine leadership. God also assigns ideas, not just opportunities. A single idea can carry the blueprint for financial transformation. These ideas do not come from imitation. They come from inspiration. They often arrive during moments of stillness, prayer, or obedience. Assigned ideas fit your calling, your skills, and your values. They do not require you to become someone else. They require you to become fully aligned with who you were created to be. Being positioned means being attentive. When God is assigning opportunities, sensitivity matters more than speed. Rushing can cause you to miss what patience would reveal. Alignment requires obedience. Even when the instruction seems simple, small steps often unlock large doors. Faithfulness in preparation ensures readiness in opportunity. As God assigns opportunities, discernment becomes essential. Not every open door is yours. Some opportunities look attractive but carry distraction. Assigned opportunities carry peace, even when they demand growth. Learning to distinguish between good and God-ordained protects momentum. When you walk into what God has assigned, effort meets favor, preparation meets timing, and purpose meets provision. Faithful obedience is the unseen force that positions a person for generational wealth. What looks ordinary in the natural carries extraordinary weight in the spiritual. Small acts of obedience, repeated consistently, build a foundation strong enough to sustain long-term abundance. God does not entrust generational impact to momentary faith. He looks for patterns of obedience, not isolated actions. What you repeatedly honor, you eventually inherit. Many desire wealth, but few desire the discipline that preserves it. Obedience trains the heart to submit to divine order, even when results are not immediate. Following instruction when it is inconvenient develops trust. Trust is essential because wealth tests loyalty more than lack ever did. When obedience becomes a lifestyle rather than a reaction to pressure, God knows that blessing will not replace Him as the source. Faithfulness is proven in stewardship of what already exists. How you manage little reveals how you will handle much. God observes how time is used, how resources are treated, how people are honored, and how integrity is maintained. Generational wealth is not built only on income, it is built on values. Without values, wealth dissolves within one generation. Obedience establishes values that outlive a single lifetime. There is a difference between sudden money and sustainable wealth. Sudden money can excite, but sustainable wealth requires structure. Obedience creates structure. It teaches restraint when excess is available and generosity when self-interest tempts control. God releases increase to those who understand that ownership is temporary but stewardship is eternal. When wealth flows through obedience, it carries purpose beyond personal comfort. Faithful obedience also attracts divine protection. Wealth without covering becomes a target. God protects what He assigns. When wealth is connected to obedience, it is guarded by wisdom, discernment, and restraint. Mistakes are minimized. Distractions lose power. Pride is checked before it causes collapse. Obedience does not remove challenges, but it reduces unnecessary losses. Generational wealth requires long vision. Obedience shifts focus from immediate gratification to lasting legacy. Decisions are made with tomorrow in mind. Sacrifices are embraced because future impact is valued more than present applause. This mindset is rare, which is why generational wealth is rare. God looks for those willing to think beyond themselves, beyond their lifetime, beyond their comfort. Obedience also sharpens hearing. The more consistently you obey, the clearer divine instruction becomes. Wealth multiplies when guidance is clear. Knowing when to invest, when to wait, when to release, and when to hold requires sensitivity. Faithful obedience fine-tunes that sensitivity. Those who obey quickly hear more clearly over time. God positions obedient people strategically. He places them where influence can grow naturally. Influence precedes increase. When trust is established, access expands. Doors open not because of force, but because of credibility built through obedience. People trust those whose lives demonstrate consistency and integrity. Trust creates opportunity, and opportunity creates increase. Generational wealth is never accidental. It is intentional, disciplined, and protected by obedience. God does not rush this process because what lasts must be built carefully. Every act of faithfulness contributes to something larger than personal success. Obedience today becomes security tomorrow. What is honored in secret becomes inheritance in public. When obedience leads, wealth follows with purpose, stability, and lasting impact. God is accelerating results in this season, compressing time in ways that defy human expectation. What once required years of effort is now moving with unusual speed. Acceleration is not chaos, it is controlled momentum released by divine authority. When God accelerates, He does not skip preparation, He rewards it. Every lesson learned, every delay endured, and every act of obedience now begins to produce visible results. Time that seemed wasted is suddenly redeemed. Acceleration often feels sudden, but it is never random. It is the result of alignment meeting readiness. God accelerates when a person is spiritually, mentally, and practically prepared to handle increase. This is why growth feels intense in this season. Decisions carry more weight. Opportunities come faster. Choices matter more. Acceleration requires focus because distraction can cost more when momentum is high. In accelerated seasons, doors open quickly. Conversations move faster. Processes shorten. Favor replaces friction. What used to require repeated effort now responds immediately. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means challenges no longer delay progress. Resistance becomes confirmation rather than discouragement. When movement increases, opposition often becomes louder, but opposition cannot stop what God is moving forward. Sudden increase is a hallmark of acceleration. Finances shift unexpectedly. Resources appear at the right moment. Support arrives without being requested. This increase is not only financial, it includes influence, clarity, and confidence. God accelerates all areas together to maintain balance. When increase comes suddenly, wisdom must rise equally fast. That is why discernment is critical in accelerated seasons. Acceleration demands quick obedience. Delayed response can miss timing. When God gives instruction, hesitation can cost momentum. Trust must be immediate. Faith must be decisive. Those who move quickly under divine direction experience greater flow. Acceleration favors the responsive, not the hesitant. God also accelerates restoration. What was lost through delay, mistake, or opposition is restored rapidly. Years of damage can be healed in moments. Confidence returns, vision sharpens, strength renews. Restoration supports increase by removing internal resistance. You cannot sustain acceleration while carrying unresolved wounds. God heals so that progress can continue unhindered. In accelerated seasons, priorities must be protected. Not every opportunity deserves attention. Speed requires clarity. Focus keeps acceleration productive rather than exhausting. God accelerates with intention, not overload. Learning to say no becomes as important as learning to say yes. Momentum is preserved through discipline. Acceleration changes perception. Time feels different. What once seemed far now feels close. Goals once postponed now feel urgent. This urgency is not pressure, it is alignment with divine timing. When God accelerates, He invites participation in His pace rather than forcing human speed. Sudden doors opening require immediate stewardship. Preparation ensures sustainability. Managing accelerated growth requires humility and dependence. God remains the source even as resources multiply. Confidence must remain anchored in Him, not in results. Acceleration tests trust because success arrives faster than expected. As God accelerates, testimony follows. Others will notice the shift. Questions will arise. Recognition will come. This visibility carries responsibility. God accelerates not just to bless individuals, but to demonstrate His faithfulness through them. What moves quickly under God's hand carries purpose beyond personal gain. When acceleration is stewarded with obedience and gratitude, it produces lasting fruit that remains strong even after momentum stabilizes.